Okay, so this is my life from when I was born to where I am now. I'm turning 26 this year. I'm currently 25. I was born in 1997 at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Adelaide. That makes me a Virgo, being late September. And I just want to give everyone a warning that this is quite hard for me because I'm basically putting my entire life on show. The ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. And I've had a chaotic life, to say the most. And some of the things that I've gone through, some of the things that I've done in my past, I'm not completely proud of. And if you're someone that's quite sensitive to a lot of this content and you get quite triggered, then I would tune out now because this will be full on, in full detail. I'm going to bring as much light and color and emotion to it as I can. And I'm just going to go through moments and highlights and enjoy the show. So, I was born, like I said, in Adelaide, 1997. I grew up in Elizabeth. My parents never really had a lot of money. We were renting a few places until we finally settled in a house. We settled in a house in Elizabeth North. During that period, I was in Germany as a newborn baby while my parents got married. And so obviously we came back and then we bought a house in Elizabeth North. My first friend was Luke. He lived across the road from me. I was a year old. He was 4 years older than me. And so we were just sort of playing in the streets as much as you can when you're a year old. And I remember a few years later when I was really young and we were driving down Elizabeth Shopping Centre. This is when I was about 2 years old, and a police officer actually pulled us over because the car we were driving wasn't roadworthy. So, we never had heaps of money. And Mum was working as a carer at the time. She's got a job as a carer, and my dad was starting his own business as a plumber. So, they were both grinding and they're doing the best they could to support us. When I was 2 years old, my sister was born. She's exactly 2 years younger than me. So I got a sister. Around ages 3 to 5, I spent a lot of time with my grandpa and my nana. So they lived about 30 minutes from where home was. And my grandpa was almost like my second dad. We would go he would take me for walks along Port Adelaide to look at the dolphins and the ships that were coming in. We'd look at big trucks and things like that. And I developed like a really close relationship with them. And I would go there every weekend, I believe, or at least every second weekend. Mum would drop me off. I used to love warm milk in like the bottles. I used to wake up, watch cartoons on the couch, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ben 10, all the good stuff. I used to eat these ham and tomato sandwiches. So it was like white bread, ham, tomato, salt and pepper. I used to smash them, used to love them. And then obviously Grandpa and I would go out through the day. We'd go to Port Adelaide, look at the trucks, whatever. And then when I would come home, usually Nana would have the cooking done, which is really nice. We used to have like meatballs a lot. Back in home life, I don't have heaps of memories about what happened just day in and day out. I do remember a lot of mornings watching cartoons at home as well. In the street with my friend Luke and then another friend, Chris. There was a whole group of us that were kind of friends in the street. We used to play Army Men in Luke's backyard. So we used to like get all these like tanks and army men and like different size. And we had like a whole collection of them. And we used to have wars in the garden and like set up around the plants. So that was pretty cool. At age 3 is when a little kitten wandered into our yard, and my parents told my sister and I that this would have been about when I was quite young, about 3 or 4, not to feed our cat Ginger. but we gave him some food, or at least Mum gave him some food, and he hung around till the next day. And we didn't have a plan to keep him, but we ended up keeping Ginger, and he was our main pet, really, the only pet we really had for quite a significant amount of time. And he went on to live for 20 years. So he died only a couple of years ago. At about age 5, we started to play around in the backyard a lot. We had a fence along the side of our house that was basically enveloped in grapevines. The grapevines took out the fence and created like a bit of an arch, a tunnel, and we used to play hide and seek, crawling through and making different tunnels through the fence. So we had like a whole sort of like tunnel system, which was pretty cool. In my early childhood, we used to also get a trampoline. We'd put it under a huge pine tree that we had in the backyard. We'd climb the pine tree, so we got really good at climbing, and then we'd jump off of the pine tree onto the trampoline, and then we jump back up again. So that was really fun, and I think that's when I started getting a real love for like adventure and thrill, jumping on the trampoline, crawling through tunnels, climbing up trees. As I got into reception, I don't have a whole lot of memories there. I think first day I cried and wanted to go home. That's about all I remember. Very nerve-wracking. In my childhood, I also have a lot of memories of my sister and I being given money by my parents, and it was about a 10-minute walk down to the local deli. $2 bought us a minimum chips. So like chips about this size for $2, which you'd never get these days. And we used to grab it, go to the veranda, and we used to just eat chips and tomato sauce. And some very fond memories there with my sister and sometimes my friends. Around age 7, I was in year 1 in primary school. I made my first friend, Daniel Bridger, his name was. We, around the ages 7 to 9, I was making a lot of cubby houses. So like in the park, especially on rainy days when like branches would crash, we'd like build cubby houses. And we'd do whatever in that. We'd race paddle pop sticks. So when it was like on real rainy days, we'd basically just have paddle pops. We'd finish our ice creams and we'd throw it in the gutter and basically let the stormy rain, like the river and the gutter, take the paddle pops, and we'd race them. And so we'd pick our own, obviously we'd have our own paddle pops, and we used to see who would win the race. So we did a lot of that. Yu-Gi-Oh, which is basically just card matching because we didn't have the brains to actually comprehend how Yu-Gi-Oh really worked. We used to watch Scooby-Doo a lot in the mornings with Dad, and sometimes we'd have spring rolls for breakfast. So good. And I have a distinct memory of my friends and I going around to houses collecting people's weeds for free, and we collect a whole bunch of them, and then we just stack them in the park one by one until we had this huge pile underneath like a huge power box in the park, and we climb up on top of the power box and basically jump and do flips and everything on the weed bed. So that was pretty cool as well. In year 2, I remember, I think that's when I started trick-or-treating, which was really fun. So that was when I was about 8 years old. In year 3, moved to St. Thomas More. So I went from Elizabeth North Primary School, and I'm now at St. Thomas More. The first day I got there, I got into a fight which is now my best friend, Jamison. We got into a fight on the playground, and we were basically wrestling on the playground, and one of us threw the other person over the bridge, and then the other person tumbled over like the playground bridge. And then when we both tumbled and fell off to the bridge, we got on top of each other and just started laying into each other again until the teacher broke us up. Now my best mate. So, funny how that worked out. Around the street as well, we were little menaces. I remember we used to play a game where we'd go around kicking light posts out. So we'd basically just boot the light post, and if you hit the battery, then you'd knock the light out and the street would go dead. And so we used to walk around the streets, like basically blacking out the streets, and then the lights would come on the next day probably. Or they did. So If that's a little bit triggering for you, I'd probably tune out now because it gets so much worse. But anyway, let's keep going. I used to love going to sporting carnivals. Any excuse to get out of school and go on a sporting carnival, whether that was athletics, swimming, soccer, anything. I love sport and I love going on carnivals. About age 10, started playing Call of Duty split screen with my friends. At his house, we would play zombies or we'd just play like split screen multiplayer Call of Duty. Started playing soccer again. And because I played soccer when I was really young, but I was just too young to actually know how to play soccer. I cut my thumb, which I've got a scar here. I remember my friend and I were at my house and we were trying to cut the sherbet out of these little lollies. And I went to cut the sherbet, sliced through to my thumb. Don't know if you can see the scar. And basically, there was just blood pissing out everywhere. And I was panicking and I looked at my thumb and I could see the bone sticking out. And I was like, oh my God, the bone's there and blood was squirting out everywhere. And I remember my mum running in, she grabbed the tea towel, wrapped it around my thumb. And we were on our way to the hospital. And I remember saying, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And yeah, my mum just kept reassuring me that I'm not going to die. And lo and behold, here I am. So didn't die. Another memory at the Aquadome. I remember swimming in the deep end with two friends and I, and there was a few of us actually. There was a few friends, just friends from the street. One of the friends actually dragged me towards the deep end as a bit of a joke, but what he didn't realize is that I couldn't swim. So he dragged me sort of out towards the deep end, and I was like coughing and bubbling and started sinking, and I literally thought I was going to die. I was drowning. And then my mate Luke was kind of swimming past, and I grabbed hold of him. I like clawed myself up to his back, grabbed onto him like that, and I was like, and he basically went to shore, and I like grabbed onto the concrete bit, and I was like coughing my guts out, and yeah, didn't drown. And I've told him about that recently. Like, dude, if you didn't save me then, I would have drowned, and I probably wouldn't be here. So that's a pretty crazy memory. Around year 5, we went to Germany with the family. Dad took us on a holiday, and we visited a place called the Zugspitze, which is the tallest mountain between Germany and Austria in the Alps. So that was really cool. Had some like snowball fights. Went to a place called Garmisch, which is like a forest area in Germany, which is pretty cool, like caves and fresh flowing water and forests and all that kind of stuff. So I think that also further invoked my love for adventure and exploring. Around year 5 is also when I remember I started wanking. So that's a bit, yeah, so it speaks for itself, I guess. So that's age 11, year 5. Year 12, age 12 is when I was in year 6. My friend and I stole car caps from like the staff teacher car park. We're like stealing the caps off tires. No idea why. They were just like little shiny things that we just wanted to have, and we had like a whole bunch of them. And I remember I got home and I was like, Mum and Dad, look what I got. Like, look at all these shiny caps. And they just lost it at me. And then I had to go back to the school. I had to apologize for everything, give back all the caps. It's pretty crazy. Age 12, I had my first girlfriend. So I started wanking in year 12 and I got my first girlfriend in year 12. I guess that's when I was starting to build hormones, develop these hormones. Yes, I had my first girlfriend. In year 7, I used to cut my knuckles on my desk. So weird. And it wasn't even like a self-harm thing. It was just like, I couldn't even tell you why I did it. I think I just like watched a lot of warrior movies, and I just wanted to get like scars on my knuckles because I saw they had like scars on their eyes and stuff. And there was like a spiky bit on my desk, and I used to like rub my knuckles against it until they're like bleeding. And I used to get like scarred knuckles. I know other people had like emo phases and stuff like that, so I guess that was my kind of emo phase. I was just doing weird shit. Yeah, so that was age 13, year 7. Also in year 7, I remember I used to go to netball on a Wednesday night. So that was at Agana Park. I used to go there and A few other guys used to go there, and we used to just catch up, walk around on like the back oval. No idea what we're doing. It was just kind of like a get out and hang out, much like younger kids used to hang out at late night shopping centre. I did that as well, actually. Used to go to like late night shopping centre in Elizabeth. Used to like hang out in Nepal, full 12 days, age 13. So I remember I didn't make federation, so I went to a federation club in soccer, and I didn't make the cut. And I remember going home in the car, and my mum reminded me of this. I looked down when we were in the car, and then I looked at my mum, and I said, "I'm just not good enough, am I, mum?" And she looked at me, and she almost wanted to cry, apparently, because she just saw that all that like self belief of me wanting to be a professional soccer player and making it in the big bad world was this little boy saying like he can't do it. I don't have what it takes. And I found that that's impacted my confidence now to this day. So I've had to go back and sort of relive the emotions and relive what that felt like, so my body could like fully feel what was going on there and bring attention to it, so it's not holding me back as to who I am now. Yeah, and then I remember I have another memory. This memory is pretty crazy, actually. We went to my friend's uncle's place, which is in Elizabeth Park, Jamison. So if you're watching this, you'll remember this memory. But basically, we went around. So there's like the houses on the block, and then there's like a little alleyway in between that block, and then there was like a flat block of land with like fencing that protected it because it was like a construction zone. It was just an empty block of land. And we were in there and we were just sort of walking in there and we're just doing whatever, minding our own business. And then there were these street kids that walked past and they were twice our age. They were big boys. There was about maybe 7 of them and it was just 2 of us. And they saw us and they maybe might have said something, and then we started teasing them because we were on the other side of the fence, and we started calling them names, all sorts of stuff, just absolutely just roasting him. And then one of them started to climb the fence, and he jumped it, and we were like, "Oh fuck!" Like they can actually get to us. And so we like sprinted back to the house. We got back in the house as we were coming back into Tony's house. The street kids were coming around the other side towards the front of the house, and there was like a bit of a party going on at Tony's house, like a family party, and everyone was out the back. So we were like knocking on the door, like, let us in, we're about to get bashed. And there's like 7 kids around the house, like just staring at us, like seeing what would happen. And then they realized no one's answering the door. So 2 of them started to walk down the driveway towards us, and we're like knocking, like, open it up. And then an old woman opened the door. She must have been like Tony's mum or something, and she's just like, "Oh, I can't find the keys." And she was like looking. She's like, "Oh, it's not this one." And then put that back, tried another key, and on this chain, she's got like 10 to 15 keys. And we're like, "Open up!" And then right when they're like literally like a meter and a half away, Tony gets to the door and he's got his key and opens it. Those kids leg it. We jump in and we're like, oh my God, that was a close call. So that was a pretty fun memory. I thought we were going to get absolutely hammered. So year 8, age 14, started high school. I remember getting my first real girlfriend, which I actually kissed. The one in year 7 was kind of just like, "You're my girlfriend," but this one was like actually kissed and hugged or whatever. I think her name was Lana. And that was obviously my first heartbreak as well. I remember I was heartbroken, I was crying, and I remember Mum sitting with me and she's like, "Oh, it's hard, isn't it?" Like, I was like, I was gonna marry her. It's so funny. I remember just being absolutely heartbroken, not by Lana, but like another girl. So funny. In year 9, I got the Academic Excellence Award, which is basically the best grades across all subjects. It was pretty weird because I was kind of like a quote unquote popular kid and I was running around in the streets and I wasn't really like a nerd, I guess you could say, but I got best grades across all the years in Mark Oliphant. When I eventually moved to St. Columba later, I was not exactly top of everyone, but at mock I was like just very switched on and And also in year 8, you can pick a lot of the subjects you like. Like I remember I was doing like PE, and like there's a lot of practical stuff. Um, we in year 9, when I was 15, we went to the South Africa World Cup. And we watched. Yeah, we watched. So we went to we went to Germany while the World Cup was happening in South Africa. And I remember towards the end of the trip, we went into the Netherlands at the time that Netherlands was playing Spain in the final. And I remember walking through the streets, everything was silent. Like you could just see people, like 10 people crowded around their living room when you looked into the window, but it was just crickets in the street. Everyone was at home watching their TV, or they were going where we were going, which was the town centre. And in the town centre was just an ocean of orange, which is the colour for Netherlands. It was just an ocean, and there was a huge crane in the centre lifting up a massive TV screen. It would have been huge, like a crane, and it had the game playing. And we went to a bar, and basically the owner of the bar understood that we were from Adelaide and gave us a spot on his balcony. So we on his roof, sorry. So we climbed a ladder, we went up onto his roof, and we saw the whole ocean of orange. And yeah, we were basically watching the game. Unfortunately, I believe it went into extra time, or at least the 90th minute, and Netherlands didn't win it. So still great though. But we would have seen parties if they did win it. Okay. Age 15 in year 9. I remember getting my first job pushing trolleys at the park shops. One day later, the boss asked me if I could work full time after school holidays, and I told him I can only do it during school holidays because I'm only in year 9 and I still got to go to school. And he said, if you're going to choose school over this job, then you're fired. So I got fired. Just got fired from my first job. At age 15, I also lost my virginity as well. Age 16, year 10, I was going to a lot of like street house parties. This is when I was getting like a little bit out of control. I used to get pissed, blunt drunk. Parents had no idea. I was only 16, so messed up. I remember one time I was getting into like social media battles with people, like just typing whatever. And one party, I like mouthed off to someone, and I was so blackout drunk that I was just like swaying like this, mouthing off to him, and I got knocked out. I just got clean, like king hit, not king hit because I saw it. Well, I think I saw it. I don't know. I don't actually remember it, but I just got knocked out, clean on the ground. The mates I was with kind of stuck up for me, and one mate that was like pretty big, he like carried me home. And the next day, I just woke up and he told me the whole story. He said, "Dude, you just mouthed off to this guy and he knocked you out." I was like, "Oh my god!" Not that stopped me though. I kept going. Like I kept going to house parties and stuff. Because I just loved it. Like at that age, sounds so crazy, but like going to house parties, getting pissed, drinking goon, hooking up with chicks, like all that stuff. At 16, and it only gets worse. So, I used to have a lot of FIFA tournaments with friends. Used to play a lot of Ultimate Team. Spent heaps of money on Ultimate Team. Not as much as some people, but I spent a lot. We had a swimming pool at home, and we used to play Red Rover. So we had someone in the middle of the swimming pool, someone else blindfolded, the catcher blindfolded, and the other people would like swim through. And at night we had like red pool lights and stuff, so it was pretty cool. You just swim in the dark and you'd try and swim past them, and the person would try and get you. That was really fun. Some fun memories there. We'd get like 9 people in a pool sometimes. Age 17. I remember I was walking on the school oval at St. Columba, and we were like, he was like mouthing off to me, and we were getting ready to fight, and I took my bag off, and then I tripped over my bag, and then he walked up to me. I walked at him, and I just punched him and dropped him. And then the next day, he dobbed on me, and he got the principal. The principal got me on in his office and said, "You're going to be suspended for a week." And I told my parents that it was because he was bullying me because of like my acne. I had really bad acne. And I remember my dad stood up for me and he said, that's not right. He's only heard one side of the story. And my dad went in there and got me unsuspended. So, maybe I deserved to get suspended, but it was really nice to see my dad stick up for me like that. Oh man, it gets pretty messed up here. like again, please tune out if you're gonna have a cry. But so around this age, 17. So I was year 11 at this point. Yeah, I had severe acne. A little bit of depression the year before. I was like depressed for a bit. I remember I used to shoplift a lot. Like I used to like steal clothes. Um, like I would just go in there with a backpack. I like steal clothes, walk out. Sometimes I even had the money to pay for things, but I was just like, why pay for it when you can have it for free? And I used to just like steal things. I used to go to the deli. I used to like steal lollies. And I remember this one time I was with two friends. I won't mention the names here as well for your own privacy. But we were in Target, and the three of us walked in, and the mission was basically to go on Target, steal a whole heap of lollies, come out, and then sneak into the cinemas, watch a movie with all these snacks. Basically, we walked into Target, we all grabbed like orange Tic Tacs and pocketed it, and then as we were walking in to the lolly aisle, we were looking at a few more things. Then we made our way to the front of the store, and as we walked out of the Target exit, this bigger woman comes over and she's just like, Target security, we've just been following you on the cameras ever since you stole those Tic Tacs. Come with me, please. And one of my friends just legs it. He's gone, like gone. I'm like, oh my god, I should have done that. And so now it's just me and my other friend C has just legged it. And it's around Christmas time as well. So there's this huge Christmas tree right near the exit. And I was like, shit. So it's just me, my other friend, and there's like this woman here, and like security guards. And security guard grabs my mate, grabs him by the wrist. He's done. Goes to grab me. I dodge him, and then I like run back a little bit, and then I'm behind the Christmas. I go behind the Christmas tree, and I'm like dodging left to right. The security guard's on the other side, dodging left to right. And a guy in the store goes to grab my shirt, and I like rip it away from him. Another guy goes to grab my wrist. I pull away from him. I run around one side of the Christmas tree. Security guard goes like that. Run around the other, and then I just basically arc my run up and around him, and then just like leg it out of the shopping center. Catch up with my mate that ran the first time. And then him and I were basically like, okay, shit, how do we rescue our other mate? And then we kind of come to the conclusion that he was gone for. We couldn't save him. He was already at the back of Target with all the security guards. And he didn't dob on us, which is pretty cool. He just made up these fake names. He was like, I don't really know them. And he got taken home to his mum's house in a cop car. And his words, he said, was pretty glad because he said the female cop was really good looking. So but his mum roasted him and she roasted us. Okay, next thing. My friend and I went through a few days where we were like breaking into houses. Yeah, you heard that right. And again, this was like there was no real ill intent in it. It was more like I just really valued thrill and excitement and danger, and a lot of us men do. We need danger in our lives, whether that's through sport, whether that's through fighting, through business ventures, channeling your danger and that scared and that like courage, all of that. If you don't channel that correctly, it's going to leak out into places you don't want it. For me, it was in crime. For other people, it could be doing cocaine on weekends or getting blackout drunk, which don't get me wrong, I was doing that too. So essentially breaking in the houses, we never had any intent to steal anything, really. It was just, I don't actually know why we did it. Maybe it was, but we never did steal anything anyway. But so basically we went up to this house, we knocked on the door, and we checked if they were home. If they were home, we would just make up something random and leave. We knocked on this one house, and they didn't answer the door. There's no one home, and we're like, okay, sweet, they're not home. Let's see if the roller door's open. We lifted the roller door, climbed under the roller door, shut the roller door, and we're like, okay, we're in. As this happened, we heard a car pull up, and we saw bright lights come from beneath the roller door. So a car was pulling up in the driveway. So picture this: my mate and I are in this house. We're literally inside their garage, and the car has just rocked up, and we see the lights. And we're like, shit, like we got to get out of here. They're literally home right now. And we're in their garage. And and they're about to open the garage to pull their car in. And so we walk out the back door to get into their backyard. And we're in their backyard. We're like, okay, shit, where do we go from here? Everything looks like blocked off. And then we see that there might be a way over there, but we have to like scale a pool fence because there's a big pool and like a fence. So we climbed on the pool fence. We're like walking along the pool fence, and then we hear like the car door close, and they're like opening the front door. And I'm like, bro, you gotta hurry up. They're coming. Like, we gotta scale this fence quick. And so we're like walking through the fence, and then as we sense that they're coming through the house, we're like really getting scared. We're hurrying up, so we like leap onto the roof, and then we're running across the tin roof like real loud, so they can definitely hear it. They know something's going on. We run across the tin roof, jump off the roof into their front yard, and then we leg it out. We get to the nearest park, and we're like, oh my god, that was so close. We literally almost got caught. We got to stop doing this. And I check my pockets. No phone. I look around me on the ground. No phone. I look at my friend and I'm like, bro, do you have my phone? And he said, no, I've got my phone. And he said, did you have it with you? And I was like, yep, I had it with me. And he was like, well, we got to like search the front of the house. Maybe you dropped it when you jumped. We searched the front of the house, couldn't find it. And because we were searching around looking for it, the neighbor across the road had probably seen this, that we were like in and around their front yard looking. Not that we saw him though. We didn't see him at this point. And so I'm like, fuck, it's not here. The phone has to be in their yard. And if they find my phone in their yard, they're going to know that we did it. Because they know that someone was on their roof. They heard it. So if they find my phone and they give that to the police, we're screwed. So I was thought, okay, oh my God. So I walked to the side gate. They have their house and they have like a little bit of a side gate. And the side gate was like locked, but I figured I could like jump over the side gate and start looking in their backyard. It's so mental. And so I'm like sort of looking over the side gate, seeing what I can see. And a police car comes in the driveway. It basically drives down the street. So a police car is driving in the driveway. And I'm like, okay, what do I do here? Like, I'm screwed here. If these guys come, they see me on the side gate, I'm screwed. Like, I've got to make up something. I've got to think quick. I'm like, okay. Just walk towards the front door. Pretend that you threw your phone over and you're just going to collect your phone. That's the only way you're going to get out of this. So picture this. So I'm walking from the side gate towards the front door. As I'm walking towards the front door, the woman and her younger daughter open the front door to meet us as I'm walking to the front door. Behind me, across the road, is the neighbor staring at me with his hands on his hips, looking at me with his eyes, like just staring at me. And then the two police officers have walked out of their car and they're following me to meet me at the front door. So I'm getting sandwiched between a whole lot of chaos. And I'm like, hey, you have my phone over the top. My friend, I think, threw the phone over and I just want to go over and collect it. And yeah, and I basically I don't remember a whole lot of it, but she was like, "Were you on our roof?" And then the officer's just like, "I just got told from a nearby neighbor that you've been searching around this person's yard." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about. My mate just grabbed my phone and he threw it over the roof, and I was just looking for my phone. That's what I was doing. I swear." And then cop is basically thinking you are like, you got to be an idiot for us to believe this. And he's just like, all right, mate, you wait here with one of the officers. I'll go into the backyard with the mum and we'll go search for your phone. Which side did your mate throw it over? So the right side, somewhere around there, he just ditched it. And that was kind of where we started scaling the fence. So I was thinking maybe it's there. They couldn't find it and they came back out and they're like, we didn't find it there. Your phone's not there. So maybe like when my mate threw it, we were like playing a game and he was I was like messaging a girl that he liked, and so he grabbed my phone, he threw it, and like maybe it like curved around the other side of the house, and maybe it's on the left side. Police officer just gave me the look like, you're kidding me, mate. And so he walked to the left side, and anyway, he came back out and he said, I found your phone, but it wasn't in the backyard. It was just here in the gutter, near the front yard. I was like, oh, it's really weird. So weird. We just looked at each other, and he said, I'm going to take you home to your parents, and you're lucky I don't arrest you. You're lucky that I don't arrest you for trespassing. And we're only 100 meters down the road, so from my house. So we walk home. Mum and Dad come out, and so I feed this lie to them and the police officer. No one believes me, obviously. I got yelled at. My mate got yelled at. He said he was going to call the dogs on us, and he was pretty disgusted with us, and so were my parents. Fair enough. And somehow that was the end of that. Got in heaps of trouble with my parents, but that's about it. So that brings me to age 18. Look at that. I haven't even become an adult yet. Great. We around year 12 we were doing a lot of river trips at my mate's shack. We used to go to the river. We used to go like tubing along the rivers. So much fun. Just having fun in the sun. We used to drink a lot at night because we were on this block and there was just no one there. We used to just have heaps of fun doing random stuff. In year 12, I remember I was like wanking every day at that age. And I don't even think that's uncommon for most guys. Most guys watching this would be like, yeah, bro, me too. Maybe even some guys these days. And it just drains your energy. You don't understand. Like, it just, like, your sexual energy is literally like your life force energy. And if you're wanking every day, twice a day, you're killing your energy. I was pulling all-nighters to get work done. Somehow still doing well. I was doing well in subjects in year 11, year 10. When I got to year 12, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I didn't put a lot of effort into a lot of my subjects. And so my grades weren't as good. I remember I was like wanking every day. I was like drained all the time. I'd always put off work until the deadline. I'd pull on all-nighters. Sometimes I just wouldn't sleep. I'd rock up the next day with like bags under my eyes. That was like a very common thing for me. And by the time I graduated year 12, my ATAR was somewhere in the mid-70s, I believe. My first option was to get into human movement. I didn't get a high enough ATAR to do that. Thought I was a failure because of that. And in reality, I probably didn't even try as hard as I could because I had no idea what I wanted to do because I thought the only option you could do was university. And I didn't want to do university. Anyway, I got into criminology only because it was getting to the deadline of I had to pick something and I love to watch NCIS. And I was like, maybe I could investigate crime scenes. Turns out criminology is to do with law and it's completely separate anyway. So anyway, I got into criminology after year 12. When I was 19, I was still working as a casual at Red Rooster that I'd got a job at when I was 16. I had a tyrant of a manager. I remember one time I was at the checkout. This was like my first, this would have been my first week. So maybe like my second shift. And my manager, her name was Natalie. She was watching me on the till behind the drinks fridge while I was serving a customer. And the customer was like, oh, can I have a burger? And I like to add this and add that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, like poking the buttons like a real nervous teenager. And she was standing behind the drink fridge with her checklist, like marking me basically. And she's like, and I'm like, oh my god, she's judging me. And then I finally got the order done. Customer said thank you, went and sat down, and I walked around like sweating. I looked at her. She walks past me and basically like whispers as she goes past. She's just like, you don't get quicker at that and you're going to be fired by next week. I was like, oh my God, my whole life is a disaster. So crazy, man. It's like crazy, like the power trips managers get on in fast food. Like I hear it all the time about like Macca's and just everywhere, man. And yeah, when I was at Red Rooster, I had a tyrant of a manager. But I survived it, clearly. I'm here. I believe I tried weed for the first time. I remember like some of my mates and I, we used to get like as high as we could to the point where like we just like looked like we were gone. We were gone. I remember one time, like usually I always had like a good high. I never had a bad high, but one time I had a really bad high. Only one time ever. And I was basically on my mate's bed. I was laying on the bed, and two friends were in front of me, and they were just chatting. But in my head, I saw them like laughing at each other, like demons, like ha ha ha, and it was like demons, and it started like crowding my brain and around me, and it was like engulfing me, and I felt like I was getting like sucked into the underground. So full on, man. I don't know if it was lace or if I just had a bad high. I don't know what it was, but it was mental, literally mental. um, yeah. Around age 19 as well is when my dad said, "You got to get a real job, stop working at Red Rooster." I'm so thankful he did that. He said, "Get a real job." And I said, "Well, I don't know what I want to be. Like, maybe I can be a real estate agent. Like, the course is only $5,000." And he said to me, "If you really want to be a real estate agent, you pay the $5,000 with your own money." And I think I had like $6,000 or $5,000 maybe. And I was like, nah, now I don't really want to be a real estate agent. And so yeah, anyway, he basically said, "Get a trade if you're not sure." That's what I did, and that's what I liked. So I thought, fine. Well, I didn't think. He basically told me to, which is good. I'm glad. I learned heaps of skills, and yeah. So I basically enrolled in TAFE, put in my first elective for electrician because I was so late with my application. Didn't get into that. That was full. So I got into plumbing, and yeah, about 3 months into the course, I did work experience at Jordan Plumbing, and I got a job and started working as a first year plumber. Speaking about like my nights out in town as well, I remember I used to just get like so blackout drunk every time we would go to town, and yeah, just like so many memories, like in like vomiting in the streets, and like when I was in the clubs, just like so blackout drunk, meeting these random people, going the reds in the smoking area and just talking to randoms, and like doing drugs, doing MD, doing coke, whatever. Um, yeah, and I reckon from a networking perspective, I met so many people. Like I have a huge network just from going out and getting plastered all the time, to be honest. So in the long run, maybe that's worked out for the best. I don't know, but I got into a lot of trouble. I used to get so blackout drunk that people had a different name for me. They called me T-Layer. And when you're talking about, there's a famous book. It's called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And basically, there are these parts of you that you don't want to show to the outside world because it gets repressed. And if there's things about you, say you're very like spontaneous, and when you were younger, say your parents used to say, "Hey, don't be spontaneous. Think about what you're going to do." Then that stops you from being spontaneous. And like other things in life, it's like, "Hey, don't be so arrogant." And that stops you from being confident and assertive when you're older. And like these things that you repress and you hold back, they start to formulate a dark side. And if that gets really dark, it starts to form a different personality. And that's the personality that would come out when I would drink heaps and I would binge drink. And the name for it, so my nickname was D-Layer, Daniel Lauzers, D-Layer. This name I got when I was binge drinking, getting blackout drunk, was called T-Layer. People were like, "Oh no, it's T-Layer." And T-Layer was an absolute freak. He would like get into fights, he would do drugs, he would do crime, like it was just insane. And one thing I remember, I was just walking with a couple of mates, and I was just dancing in the street on Harley Street, had like a glass bottle, and I just ditched it at the uni window. And my mate's like, "Why the fuck did you do that?" And I was like, "Run!" And I just legged it. And then my mates are like, "What the fuck do we do?" So they legged it. Nothing came of that. But yeah, just like crazy stuff, man. And I'll get into like a bit more as well. At age 20, yeah, I'm starting my first year at Jordan Plumbing. I remember going to a work show with Jordan Plumbing, and we basically all met up at, yes, this is when I'm 21. We all met up at a pub that was across from the casino, and we were all having drinks, and my mate and I, we brought like 20 pills with us. And the idea was to sell them at the work show because they pay heaps of money for it at the work show. yeah, that's just something like my friends and I did. And so I had like 20 pills on me, like in my pockets, just like ready to sell for the night. Then we ended up leaving the pub and went to go walk around Hindley. And I probably still had about like 12 on me at this stage, 12, 15 on me. And we went through this alleyway. So when you think of like North Terrace and Hindley Street, there's like an alleyway that goes through. And in that alleyway, there was a little alcove where these bins were. And a few of the older plumbers and stuff like that, or just the guys I was with, they were like doing cocaine in that area, like off their phones or whatever. And they were sort of in that alcove. And I was standing back from the alcove. I was like, all right, cool. Wait till these guys are done. Like, I'm pretty buzzing. I'm pretty out there. And so we're halfway down this alleyway street in between North Terrace and Hindley. And I looked down at North Terrace, and like just my luck as well, I looked down and two police officers are walking by, and they quickly glance over into the alleyway, and then I'm just standing there, and I look up, and we connect eyes, and I was like, oh shit, and so I look back down, and then I look back down for a bit, and then I look back up, and they're standing there looking at me, and I'm like, oh fuck's sake. Yeah, and then they start to walk over. And I'm like, oh god! So I start to like walk towards Hindley, like walk away, and then I see them still walking. So I keep walking. They're walking a little bit faster. I start walking a bit faster, and then I start like jogging a little bit, like just a tiny bit, and then I see them jogging, and then as soon as I get to that corner, I just sprint. And they're like, hey, get back here. And so two cops are like chasing me down the street. I'm like running through like crowds on Hindley Street, like near Woolshed, like running through people, jumping over people's heads, like just legging it. And the cops are like tearing through, trying to get to me. And every time I turn a corner, I got my hands in my pockets and I'd throw like a few more pills out. And then I'd like sprint. I saw them, and then like another cop would join in from somewhere else. And then I had like 5 cops chasing me. I'd turn another corner, get some more pills out until the point where I had none in me, and there was like 5 or 6 like cops chasing me from different directions because they'd like call on the radars. Crossed the road off North Terrace. I was at where the like station was by this point, and then I'm like, because obviously I've been drinking all this much, MD everything, and I'm just like gas. And then I just go down and sit on the stairs because I knew I had nothing on me at that point. And then the cops come and just like pin me to the ground. And there was about 5 or 6 cops around. The 2 cops come over like on horses. There was like 10 of them surrounding me. And they're like, why were you running, mate? And I was like, I don't know. You were chasing me, so I was running. And they're like, we're only chasing you because you were running. And I'm like, well, you just scared me, so I started running. And yeah, long story short, I just got fined for being disrupting the peace or something like that. Another work show, I got so drunk, just absolutely blacked out. And I remember I woke up on a train with a fine on my lap saying, you got fined for public indecency. No idea what happened that night, but I asked a few of the guys and they just said you were a mess. So I don't know what I did, but I just remember waking up on the train, getting off at like Walmer train station with a note in my hand saying like you have been fined, etc. Crazy. Yeah, where am I? In my that was my second year. Another work party. I went to a friend's work party. It was his 21st, and I was surrounded in all these people that I didn't know. There was about probably like close to 100 people, all like family and friends, celebrating this guy's 21st, and it was quite like a fancy hotel or whatever. And I remember Eagle Rock came on, and I like stripped down to my undies, took my pants off, took my top off, took everything off, stripped down to my undies, went on top of this table, which was like a bar table because it was like with like bar stools, like a high table. And I stood on it in the middle of the room, 100 people, and I just started like dancing Eagle Rock, like completely drunk. Oh man! And then I'm pretty sure I still got a photo of that day. That was wild. Yeah, so that was another crazy memory. Yeah, my dad. Yeah, okay. And in my second year of apprenticeship, I got my first count of assault. So I was charged with basic assault non-conviction, so it doesn't show up on a criminal record, but it was a police record. So the story of that, basically, we went to the Fringe, I believe, and as we were coming home, or a little pub or something, as we were coming home on the train, we got off at Elizabeth train station, 4 of us, and while on the train, I also saw like a soccer mate that was sitting across from me, him and his girlfriend, and they were arguing, and it was getting like quite violent, and he was like yelling some pretty nasty stuff at her and vice versa, and I thought he was going to hit her, and so I was getting really tense. Anyway, we got out of the train, and the 4 of us started to walk away, and him and his girlfriend were yelling at each other at the train station as they were walking away. They were just blasting each other, but like to the point where I thought he was like going to bash her or something. And then this like 35-year-old, 40-year-old male walks over from the train station with 2 females with him. All 3 of them would have been about 35-ish, 40, and we're obviously about like early 20s. And he's like, "Hey, don't yell at her like that." And I'm like, "Oh man, don't say that to my soccer mate because he's crazy." And anyway, they proceeded to walk up to each other, and then they were like holding each other like that. And so me trying to be the good guy, I like run over and I try to break it up. I'm like pushing him away. I'm like, hey, guys, stop. Just like relax. You don't have to fight. And then my mate swings over the top of me, breaks his nose, and he's got blood everywhere. And then I'm like, dude, like stop. And as I'm trying to stop him, the woman that was with that man comes from behind me and then swings and hits me, cuts my lip, and I have no idea who's hit me. All I know is that like someone's come from behind me and like split my lip. So my instinct reaction is turn around and like bang. And I turn around, hit, and I just knocked out a girl. And I was like, oh my God, like what have I just done? I just see her like starfish on the ground. I'm like, oh my God, like I've really done it now. Long story short, I basically flee the scene, and she was all good. Like she just came up with a concussion, and she was good the next morning. But the guy, on the other hand, had to get CAT scans, and because he got like a broken face and all this kind of stuff, I got charged. Like later on, the police were speaking to my friend and him. They were together for some reason. They thought it was all me, and I got blamed for all of it. And the serious charge was with him because he got like a broken nose and all this stuff, and it wasn't self-defense, it was just a hit. So that was the big one, and I got charged for both of those. And so I had to defend my case, spent heaps of money on lawyers, and they didn't believe that it wasn't me that hit him, and they didn't believe that it was self-defense with the woman. They just thought I hit him and then I hit the girl. That's it. And they had no footage. Anyway, what saved my ass is right near the end of the case, they were able to get some footage of the train station. They realized that I didn't hit the guy, and they also realized that she hit me, and I just did that in self-defense. Although they said it's not self-defense because you could have run away, you weren't backed into a corner with a gun, which I think is like crap on the legal system side, but it is what it is. And they said basically we'll drop it if you admit to basic assault, non-conviction, and because it doesn't show up on any like document, any police record, I was like, fine, I guess I can admit to that. I don't see the harm in that. Turns out it's come to haunt me later, but we'll get into that. And so that was that. I got basically just to quickly rewind, basically the way it works. So that incident happened, and then I thought it was all good because it was like a few months had passed. I thought everything was all good. I was in the van with my dad at the time, and I got a phone call, and it's just me and my dad, and my dad's like quite strict and European. And anyway, I was in the car and I had a phone call, and it's just like, "Hi, this is Constable, whatever. We're currently at your house where we want to speak to you about an incident that happened not long ago at the railway. Do you understand what we're talking about?" And I said, yes. And it's just like, okay, what's going to happen is you're going to get home in 10 minutes based on where you are. When you get home, we're going to arrest you. We're going to take you in the car, and we're going to take you to your police station. Is that understood? And I was like, yes. And so I hung up the phone, and my dad said, "Who's that?" And I had to explain him that when we get home, I'm going to get arrested, Dad. And so we got home, got arrested, and long story short, I ended up getting done for, basic assault, non-conviction, which is very, which is like a low charge in terms of assault, but still not great. Okay, moving on to age 22. We're 25 now, so we're getting closer. So I'm a third-year apprentice here. I first started my fitness account, which is Dealer Fitness Mindset. That's now transitioned into 8Fit. Around this time, I was really starting to listen to podcasts. Every time I'd be in the car driving to and from work, I would listen to mindset videos, listen to Tony Robbins, E.T., Les Brown, Jim Rohn. You can change your life. You can live your dreams. Push harder. You can do this. All this motivation is filling my brain. And I'm like, oh my God, like maybe I can chase my dreams. Maybe I can be someone in this world. Maybe like that kid that couldn't ever do anything, that fuck up that I've been my whole life. Maybe I can actually do something in my life. And I started listening to this, like Impact Theory, Tom Bilyeu, all these podcasts and basically just started filling my head with it. When I'd go to work, I'd be plumbing, but I'd have my earphones plugged in, listening to more of it. I was like rewiring my brain. And I remember around this time I was listening to David Goggins, and he got me to start running, as well as George Blackett. If you're watching this, bro, you got me running as well. And David Goggins was basically saying, in order to get somewhere, and Les Brown was saying that, he's like, you need to overcome your fears, face your fears. And I was like, I didn't think about like public speaking or posting content or having tough conversations. I didn't think about that as fears. I thought like, well, I'm scared of spiders. I'm scared of sharks. And I started facing that stuff. So I was scared of spiders. So I'm like, all right, what I have to do to overcome this is I need to start picking up spiders with my bare hands and carrying them out. It's the only way I'm going to do it. Because I'm so scared of spiders. I'm better now. And so I'd like pick up a huntsman and I would just like fucking like this towards the backyard, and then I just throw it out. And I was just doing it more and more. Like people saying I'm crazy, but I'm like, I need to do this to overcome my fear. And it worked to a degree, but I ended up stopped doing it. Started thinking logically. I'm like, these can actually poison me. And then to overcome my fear of sharks, I remember going down to West Beach after work one day, and I stripped down to my undies and I swam out as far as I could until I could see the back of West Beach jetty. So that's like really far until I could see the back of the jetty, but not near the jetty. And it was just me. No one else was out there. Just me, my shorts, stripped down, swam all the way out. And I got out there and it was pretty silent, and I was just sort of like doggy paddling. And I looked around, it was just open ocean. Hundreds of meters away from the beach, 200 meters away from the beach, probably. And I just remember saying to myself, today is not my day to die. Today is not my day to die. I will not die. This is not my day. Because I was terrified thinking of a shark. And it was like a deep feeling of like peace within myself. I was like, I'm like on the bridge of fear right now. Like I'm in it. And I got back and still have a fear of sharks, and I understand that they're real and they can kill you. So it's better. It's better. I remember another time this is a pretty crazy story. Almost got done for murder. My life is so messed up. We were in Semaphore for like a birthday that was at the Palais, and I was going back home, and there were three of us in the car, one driving, one in the passenger, and I was in the back seat. My mate that was driving had just bought like a frozen Coke, and he was sipping away his frozen Coke, and my mate was kind of just like on his phone. I was just chilling on my phone, and we're going down a 60-kilometer road. It's 3:00 in the morning, so it's like pitch black, and we're going about 80 kilometers in a 60 zone. I'm pretty sure we were speeding. And my mate's just trying to get to the bottom of this frozen Coke. He's got like a little bit left. And then my other mate, the passenger, is just like, watch out! And then within a split second, the driver looked up, swerved his car around a drunk man that had just been it was like this drunk guy that was like stumbling across the road. So we were like literally seconds away from taking this guy's life from the car. And we went past and we just had a wake up moment. We were like, holy shit. Like that could have changed the course of our lives. That's it. We could have been done. Murder. Our whole lives are 25 years. So that was hectic. Okay. This brings me to age 23, 4th year apprentice. During my 4th year apprentice, I was getting to the point where I knew I didn't want to do plumbing for the rest of my life. I knew something had to change. I didn't know what. I was listening to Tony Robbins and things, and I wanted to be like a professional motivational speaker, but I had no idea how to get there. I'm like, how do I get there? And I'm like, well, look, I just know that I'm spending most of my time in the gym. For the last like 3rd year and 4th year, I was spending like 6 hours in the gym. It was ridiculous. Like I'd finish work at 2 p.m. I'd get to the Aquadome at about 2:30 p.m. My mate and I would get in at about 3 p.m. I would stretch for like an hour. I'd go on like a run. I would come back. I would lift weights. I'd go for a swim. I'd go on the sauna. I'd have a thick protein shake and then dinner. And then I would do it again every day, 5 days a week without. The thing that changed for me is the fact that I went with a mate and we were going like, he was going 5 days a week every day. Once I started going 5 days a week every day, I had that accountability. I had someone hold me accountable. Nothing could stop me. I was in there 5 days a week, and I just built this incredible foundation of like strength and aerobic capacity that like I carry with me today. Now I don't have to wake up. Now I don't have to work out 5 days a week because I've just got this incredible like foundation built in me. And so around that time, I was I was looking to make a change in my life, and I registered to do a personal training course. And I just thought, you know what? I'm spending most of my time in the gym. If I just sign up to do personal training, I bite the bullet, then I have to do it. So I paid my $5,000, and that was set to start in something like November, I think, and this was around September. Around that September time as well, I had a river trip with some friends, and this was in Renmark. I pushed we got to the pub. There was 4 of us. We were drinking at a campsite. We got to the pub. We were having like a bit of a conversation with these girls from a netball team. They were like celebrating like a netball season, and we're just having a chat with them. Then we're on the dance floor, and we're all sort of just like dancing together. Nothing sexual, like nothing in it at all. And someone complained and said, "You're harassing these girls. You need to leave." And we're in this like Riverland. There's only like one pub going off, and it's the start of the night, and we're having so much fun. I'm like, no, like, why do I have to leave? I'm doing nothing wrong. No, I'm staying. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. And he's like, and then he goes to take me out, and then 2 of the girls that are from the netball team run over, and they're like, he's not harassing us. Like, I don't know who said that, but he's not harassing us. It's fine. Like really, like, there's nothing in it. So they leave us alone. And then I go to the toilet, which is away from the dance area. I go to the toilet, and as I walk out of the toilet, 2 security guards block my path, and they're like, "You come with me, mate. You're going out." And I was like, "No, you can't do this. Like, literally go back and ask everyone else. Everyone else will agree with me. I've done nothing. Why are you bullying me like this?" And they just kept going and like shoving me and pushing me and like grappling me. And then finally, when we got out of the pub, I just got sick of this security guard pushing me around. So I pushed him back, 2 hands to the chest. That's it. 2 hands to the chest. He fell back and he fell over. And then our security child grabbed me, and I just legged it. Got all the way back, got to the campsite, and I believe like the police were called for it. Anyway, at about 3 o'clock in the morning at our campsite, about 6 cop cars rocked up, and the cops started dragging us out of our tents. They were one cop was dragging my friend, and he was like kicking him, saying like, "Oh, let me sleep." He had no idea it was a police officer, and and they were just like ripping us out the tents, looking for me, and I was in the last swag, and they ripped me out, and yeah, they were basically like extremely pissed, and they grabbed me, threw me in the back of the wagon, drove me back to like the Renmark jail, and they told me that I've got a criminal conviction for this, that I'm gonna get convicted criminally for this, and basically got arrested. And so I had a court date that I had to keep going to, which kept getting adjourned. And during this period, this was around end of 21, around December. And at the end of the December, I had hoped to go to Asia with my friend for like a backpacking thing. And so I got let out on bail, which means I don't have to go to jail, and it means I had like a notice that I was allowed to go to Asia, providing I came back, etc., etc. because it was already planned, which really helped. If I'd planned it afterwards, they would have been a bit sus, I suppose. And yeah, we did. My mate and I did. Luke, we did 6 weeks in Asia. So we originally arrived in Cambodia. That was a huge culture shock. We went from Cambodia to the bottom of Vietnam. Spent New Year's in Ho Chi Minh City. It's incredible. Then we motorbiked our ride from the middle of Vietnam all the way to the top of Vietnam. Then we went across to Myanmar. To Laos, Luang Prabang, like this little town where we did like magic mushrooms and shakes and stuff, and that was pretty wild there in like a little town. Then we went across to Myanmar, and then across to Nepal, where we hiked through some of the Himalayas, some of the crazy mountains over there. And then we returned home. So we had a crazy Asia tour. Around December was the first time I ever completed a book. So if you think about my progress in like personal development, I wasn't really like always like this into books. That was my first ever book that I ever read. Even at school, I never read a full book unless we were going through it and the teacher was reading it in English. But like I never read a full book ever until then. Cool. That takes me to age 24. I remember being in this, in Adelaide courthouse with, I'd moved out of home at this point. I was in the Adelaide courthouse with my mum and dad and my partner. I think Tina was there as well. And basically, my criminal convictions, basically the criminal conviction that I got convicted for was after like all these adjourned meetings, was aggravated assault cause harm. Aggravated assault. Aggravated is the term given if you're using a bat or you're using something like really extreme, or aggravated can be if you push a security guard or a police officer. Because it happened to be a security guard, it was classed as aggravated assault, which is far more worse than assault. Aggravated assault, and because he did his ACL when he fell down, which to this day I still don't know if that was me that caused it, but he had all documents and stuff. It was aggravated assault cause harm, very, very serious charge. And so I was pretty confident I was going to jail. I remember saying to like my partner and my parents, like, when I go to jail, I'm just going to read every day. I'm going to like do push-ups every day, and I'm just going to come out like a beast. And everyone's like, "Are you worried?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm just gonna like." I don't know what it would have been like, and I definitely didn't want to go to jail. But I'm like, if I'm going, I'm going to be a beast, man, and like people are going to hear my story. I think I had I was developing a very positive mindset around that time. I think that's been my superpower, having a real positive mind. Anyway, so it's the day of my sentence. Basically, I've got these two. I've got basic assault in my background, and now I've been convicted of aggravated assault cause harm. Given my history and all the crimes that I've committed, because there were like more as well, I was very confident I was going to jail. And we were in the Adelaide courthouse. I remember my dad crying and hugging me. And my mum absolutely broken. Everyone that was in there. And we were going through my lawyer versus their lawyer about the situation, and it came to a point where the judge had to make the decision of whether I go to jail for a period of time or not. And he basically weighed up in two hands. Do I send this man to jail or not? And the whole courtroom went silent, waiting for the decision. And I just remember like just sitting there frozen. Like, what's he going to say? Like, right now, am I about to get arrested and thrown in jail? Like, what's going to happen? And he ended up saying, "Look, I'm going to give you this one chance to turn your life around. You're not going to jail today, but this is your last chance. If you do anything else, you're on a good behavior bond. I think it was 3 years. If anything else comes up, you go straight to prison. No questions asked." And that was basically it's basically my opportunity to change my life. I'm thankful for like a lot of the work, my friends and family, and all the support I had. But yeah, the only reason I'm here and not in jail is because of that defining moment. And so I thought that was over. So I thought, oh man, finally I'm done. 6 months later, I'm at home. Naomi gets a letter out of the letterbox, and the letter says something pretty wild. And she looks at me and she's like, Daniel, I think you better read this. And I look at it, and the letter says, you are responsible for this victim's injuries, and according to this clause, you owe us, like basically the person I affected had been seeking work cover, and I owe this company $68,000 and counting. And I was like, fuck, I don't have that money. I do not have that money. Like, nowhere do I have that money. Yeah, so I got that letter, $68,000 and counting. I remember first looking at it and laughing. I'm like, they're not going to get that off me. I literally don't even have the money. Making that bit of a laugh. And at the time, I was working as a sales consultant, like stressed out of my mind because I was working long hours, getting hardly any pay, and working a gross sales job. And yeah, it just wasn't fun. A couple months later, COVID hit, and they told me as a personal trainer to work at Good Life, you need to get proof of a double vaccine. If you don't get it, you need to leave by next week. So I left because I didn't want to get it. Because I want my own immune system to be able to cope with my own illnesses. I don't want to put a vaccine that compromises my own immune system. And I just didn't feel good about it. So I didn't do that. So basically, I just built a business in personal training, and I was 4 months in, had to quit my job. I have the $68,000 debt. All I've got is $500 in the bank. I've got no job. I took out $2,000 for my own stock fund. And in February, hoping things would start getting better because I had a positive mindset, I got a second letter saying $78,000 and counting. We need an urgent response. And I was like, shit, this is actually real. Like, they're not just going to ignore this. We contacted multiple lawyers. All the lawyers agreed that there's nothing you can do. You're responsible for it. So, yeah, that time I remember I was like smoking weed every night because I was just stressed. I think my parents were really stressed at home. They used to tell me, yeah, I had issues with my relationship to a degree, because I was taking a lot of that stress was consuming my mind. I wasn't like thinking about the relationship, and I just I was thinking about myself too much, and a lot of stress, and I wasn't communicating effectively. I wasn't putting her first, and I think she just felt a little bit like empty. And there was a point where every time she'd walk in the door, she just wasn't smiling. And it's pretty fun. Around this time as well, just before this had happened, I put $2,500 into Corey Boutwell's course, thinking that I was starting to do well in business, not realizing that all this was going to come crashing down on me. So I was starting to develop my mindset, but all of this stuff was happening in the background and no one saw it. And basically, we talked to lawyers and we contacted the company, and they basically said, like, by the end that this is done, you'll be owing us at least $100K. And no lawyers could help us out. We ended up finding one lawyer that could help us out, and basically we negotiated on the terms that I'm completely broke. I have no money. Because basically I only had two options. I had a payment plan that I could go on basically for the rest of my life, paying this stuff off, that accrued interest, or I could claim bankruptcy and never own a business, basically. And we contacted one lawyer, and he said, the only way that I think you're going to get out of this is if you can negotiate an amount. Maybe it's 30K, maybe it's 40K, and you've got to borrow it and get that amount. And so we basically sent them a letter saying, like, these are all the reasons why we don't think you have a very good reason for accusing me, because he could have had this injury beforehand, and we were just finding all this evidence, stacking up evidence on evidence on evidence. Naomi, my partner, did so much work on this. I'm so thankful. We had like pages and pages of evidence saying like this is why we don't owe this much amount. But then so we gave that into the actual. So that was like an over the table letter to them, and then under the table letter, we basically said, look, he's broke. He has no income. He has no job. The only thing he does is this. He's going nowhere. I had no income to prove it. I never really had a crazy job. I wasn't at uni. And it's just like, look, this kid's basically a dropout. This kid has nothing. That's basically what I was presenting to them. But I got a third party, a family member, that's willing to lend me $10,000. Will you take the $10,000 under the table, paired with the table on top of all this evidence? And that took a long time to get to. And we were thinking that we're going to say, no, but we'll negotiate at, say, 60,000. And then we say 30, but they accepted it. $10,000 done, flat, bam. So it was a huge relief off my shoulders. Along that period of time as well, the regulations lift at Good Life. So I start working back as a personal trainer at Good Life, start building my business again. I became the highest paid personal trainer at Good Life. I fixed my friendship through a powerful conversation of 20 years. There was a lot of things that were like rooted deeply that were causing a lot of conflict and negative energy between us. So I fixed that through powerful conversations, fixed my relationship. I won all 4 awards in soccer that year. Best and fairest, coaches award, players player, and top goal scorer in the league. Then flashback to now, where we are present. I've quit Good Life. I'm working full-time as an online coach. I'm consistently posting on social media, which is very, very difficult for most people. I completed 75 hard. I'm a community leader for a men's personal development called Set the Standard. I feel intelligent. I can remember books and recite them very well. I have a better memory than most people I know. I have a thriving relationship, and I've been in this relationship for over 5 years now. And I've completed the goals that I set for myself this year in the first 3 months. I'm setting new goals. I have an incredible network. I have incredible friendships, beautiful partner. And now I'm starting to build a good income with coaching. And I feel like I'm in a much better place now. Well, I am in a much better place. So that's my life from 0 to 25. It's who I am. It's me, Daniel Louses. And I just want to say a few things as well. I really just want to thank my mum for caring for me so much and her unconditional love. I remember one time when I was first leaving home, she walked me out the door and she looked at me and she said, Daniel, like there's been so many times where I've felt lost and, things have happened, but as you leave today, I feel like I've made it as a mother. I feel like I've made it in my life, and that made me feel really good. And her love has given me like the confidence that you might now see in me in social media. It's because of that. So if you're a parent out there, love your children unconditionally. So I really want to thank my mum. I want to thank Naomi for lifting me up 5 years ago. She was really like above me in like, I guess, like a personal development sort of spectrum, and all these bad things in me, she helped carry me to my higher self. And mythologically, when you're speaking about the hero's journey, along this journey that you go on in life, you will come into contact with a goddess, whether that's in the form of art or a partner or whatever, and they lift you out of the mud into your higher self. And Naomi did that for me. So, I'm so grateful. I want to thank my dad for helping me develop my own integrity as a man. He used to always say something that stuck with me ever since. He used to say, a man, a word, which is you say something, you do it. And he got me to take action in my life. He's like, you need a job. I don't care. Yeah, you want to find your purpose, but you need to get out of Red Rooster and get into the real world. Get a job. And I got a job. And I developed like communication skills, confidence skills. You know how scary it is when you're like a skinny little teenager and you jump onto a work site with like all these men, and you got to just develop the skills to be able to like combat all their like sarcasm and everything else. I'm so thankful for that. So thanks, Dad, for helping me build my own integrity. Yeah, and just I want to thank Luke as well, my best friend, for helping me get into the gym and developing discipline, and that really set me on path to discovering Wim Hof and everything else, and chasing my dreams, and Jamison, and just all of my friends, and everyone that helped me along the way, and everyone that's been there for me and supported me and still supports me now. It's incredible, it really is. And I want to thank myself for pushing through all of this, and grinding, and having the discipline, the willpower to push through it, and having a positive mindset, and thinking of the good things in life, and thinking things will work out for the best. And I really, sometimes I don't give myself enough credit for my own personal development, for taking risks. And I just like to reflect that for most of my life, I've been chasing thrill, breaking the houses, going out getting pissed, even like playing soccer and going to the gym and going on these adventures, and like overcoming my fears, sharks, spiders. There's a part of me that really craves thrill and adventure in my life, and I wasn't directing that thrill in the right place. Part of us, we need danger. As men, we need a purpose, we need a direction in life, we need beauty, which is the feminine, which is like art, a partner, watching movies, that like lover energy. So we need beauty, we need purpose in life, and we need danger. All men need some form of danger, whether that's in your sport, whether that's in adventure, whether that's in public speaking, building a business. Channel that danger into your purpose. Channel that danger into your purpose, because if it doesn't drive your purpose, then that danger is going to leak out into doing cocaine, into doing drinks, into cheating on your missus, into all sorts of nasty stuff. And so I think I'll probably end it there. And that's my life. So yeah, my Instagram is apefit.au. That's where I'm most active. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to reach out to me, and you've got any reflections or something that's come out for you personally, then I'd love to hear about it.